Hello and welcome to another episode of The Longest 5 Minutes with me, Asanka Sahabandhu, and we have a very special young gentleman today.
Yeah,
young being
young.
the key word here.
I like
he's a lot of things, except boring, I hear.
I don't know.
So we're going to have a very interesting conversation about the workplace, things like how to get promoted. So I hope you subscribe and comment and like on the channel and keep watching The Longest 5 Minutes with us. Sarinda Unamboowe.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you, Sarinda.
Thank you.
We've met previously on different circumstances.
Yes, that's right.
But
Yeah.
just so you guys know, Sarinda was here an hour early and we were setting up for an extra hour. Okay, so he is now warm.
Punctuality is very important.
Very
young
important,
man.
very important. And I'm sure he's going to murder me at a meeting when he brings this up. The first question I would like to ask you. Do people still sleep with their bosses for perks and promotions?
I don't know. I wish somebody slept with me, but I have no idea where it happens.
But it does happen a lot.
I'm sure it must be. I mean, people are human. But, who's to judge? Each person has different circumstances, and different circumstances bring people together. In a work environment, there are people who spend a lot of time with each other. So all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah.
No? Whether it's done for promotions or whether it's done for fun between two consenting adults, I have no idea. I don't want to tread on that area. Dangerous ground to go.
Let's talk a little bit about hierarchy at the workplace.
Yeah.
Just before we head into the subject of or the criteria of hierarchy at the workplace, isn't it natural for humans to follow a hierarchy?
Yeah, I think that, hierarchy is a natural thing. You take a pack of animals, there'll always be an alpha, male or female, leading the pack. So it's a natural thing, but there's two types of hierarchy. There's a natural hierarchy and then there's a social hierarchy. To me, social hierarchy is utter bullshit.
So, do you mean to say that social hierarchy is not stemming from the natural hierarchy that we're used to? Like,
Not necessarily.
for example,
Yeah.
if you let loose 10 kids into a playground,
Yeah.
they would organize themselves into a hierarchy in under 10 seconds. I kid you not. Try it if you must.
So I think that's an example of natural hierarchy, where they will select somebody based on suitability of that person to head a role. But in many situations, especially in, say, work situations, you have a hierarchy in the organization, and then the boss becomes gospel. Everything that comes out of the boss's mouth, whether it's utter bullshit or not, becomes gospel, and everybody has to listen. That unfortunately is the situation in most South Asian countries. South Asian societies to a great extent, and even Far East Asian societies to a great extent, are very hierarchical. So as a result of that, we are programmed from the time we are born. You don't question your parents, you don't question your teachers, you don't question authority, you try and follow everything, the rule has to be followed. So unfortunately, I think that stifles a lot of creativity, it stifles a lot of energy in people, and it can ruin an organization.
Yeah.
It's important to have some kind of structure, but it doesn't mean that when you're doing tasks, when individual tasks are being done, that hierarchy needs to be followed.
Yeah. And I think in Sri Lanka, a lot of people believe that the boss is always right.
Yeah, exactly. The boss
yes-
is always right, of course.
The yes
Boss
boss,
is never wrong.
the yes boss kind of
Yeah.
culture. How do
Yeah.
we change that suddenly?
So I think it comes from the boss to start with. Right? The boss has to be big enough to understand that he or she is going to succeed if the organization's strength in terms of ideas, in terms of energy, in terms of processes, whatever it may be, comes from the people who are actually doing the work of the work. Now, I always like to, I've got some classic examples. I don't know whether we have time for them. But
I do, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. I was working for a supermarket chain at one point, and there was this particular outlet that we used to go to, and every day I walked into it in the morning, the damn things would stink. I mean, there was a terrible stench.
Okay.
And a supermarket, right? You're selling
Yeah.
food and you expect
Supposed to be
hygiene.
clean,
Yeah, exactly. So I made a huge hue and cry about this being dirty, and I told the manager, we need to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
So one day I go in the morning and engineers, air conditioning experts, construction experts, everybody is there. About 20 people with more qualifications than the alphabet are all there. and they are saying all these things that needed to be done.
Okay.
Behind the meat counter, he's a guy with his hands crossed like this, and he's watching what's going on. So I said, what's on your mind? Tell me what's going on. So he turns around and says, so all you have to do is every night get a bucket of hot water and put it in the drain. All the blood that's collected in there from the meat counter will get washed out and there won't be a smell. So see, sometimes we overcomplicate everything because we want to show how important our qualifications are, important our titles are.
Yeah.
So I think we lose a lot of value in everything we do when we try to over structure everything that we do.
Yeah.
We must know and we must learn that lots of youngsters who are coming into the market know a hell of a lot more than we will ever know.
Yeah.
They
And it's
have-
from a different generation. And so many things have
Absolutely,
happened.
absolutely. And this mobile phone has changed the dynamics of society, if you ask me. Everybody has access to information, everybody has access to knowledge. And if we don't recognize that, my generation especially is the generation that we didn't even have fax machines.
Yeah.
And we had rotary dial phones. You show a kid a rotary dial phone and they won't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah.
We had rotary dial phones.
For those of you who are watching and are completely confused right now, we will try and insert a rotary dial phone into the video feed. Kushan, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Sarinda Unamboowe and talk to him about what happens in the workplace and how you can get promoted. And
Without sleeping with the boss.
Without sleeping with the boss.
Okay.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Even though it may be a very good looking boss, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it after this. Hi guys, we're back. This is the longest 5 minutes. We have Sarinda Unamboowe with us. We're talking about hierarchies at the workplace, what should happen, what should not happen. There's also this topic of family-run businesses in Sri Lanka, which are doing really well, contributing to our economy and giving us employment. They too have this hierarchical problem, right? How does one cope with that?
So, look, there is a saying that the grandfather starts the business, the children run the business, and the grandchildren screw the business up. So I think it's up to each family how that is handled. And so in some places that happens in that way, or it doesn't. But I think the important thing is, even a family-run business, if you are scaling it to be a full-sized, competitive business in the global environment, say, or even in Sri Lankan context, it has to be run as a professional organization. So if you have a child, just because he or she is of the bloodline, it shouldn't be natural that person comes in and takes over a senior slot in the organization.
Yeah.
They should be working their way up the organization, earning the knowledge, and earning more than the knowledge, earning the respect of people in the organization before they reach senior slots. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of families make is just coming and transplanting children into senior roles in the organization. And in many cases, they are just not capable of doing it, because it's not just about qualifications or anything like that. It's about experience, it's about respect, it's about knowing how to work in an office, in a work environment, and gathering a few miles under the wheels, as it were, before you get to those slots.
Okay, so guys, we are back. We might have to amplify our volumes a little bit because the next door neighbor is having an argument. I am not making
Banging on
this
the
up.
pots and pans. Singing in the kitchen.
Yeah, they are certainly not singing. But someone really wants to break free over there. We don't know. We can't help them. But we'll continue the discussion with Sarinda on the longest 5 minutes. Sarinda and I were talking to you about promotions. And some people don't get promoted. They're in the same place, same paycheck, 8-10 years, same title, no perks, no benefits, no additional income. How do they handle it?
I really don't think that people like that should be in an organization to start with. They should take the initiative and leave if you want to be exploited, if you want to be treated like that. Some organizations will just treat you like that. Or maybe you're just one of those charity cases that they feel sorry for and keep you. So either way, have some self-respect, get out there and find yourself another job. That's one. But from an organization's point of view, first, let's look at the individuals, right? Let's look at it from an individual point of view. I think we need to, each one has a different measure of success. If you either measure your success by titles and promotions, or you measure your success by where you are in your life at that moment. So you can look at, the personal ambitions that you have, the targets that you have for yourself. If you're achieving those, even if you're in the same title,
it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. Well, to some people it won't
Yeah.
matter, and I think that's what you need to figure out. But if it's not happening, then you need to go and do something about it. You can't be waiting for other people to do. So if you're really bad at what you do, then you need to have a reality check.
You deserve it.
Yeah, you need a reality check. But in organizations, let's talk about the thing of promotion. It's very current in my workplace at the moment because we have become a very top-heavy organization as we have gone along.
Define top-heavy?
Lots of chiefs, no Indians. Lots of senior people and no troops, as it were. So I think it's very important that for the longevity of an operation, for longevity of an organization, your costs are kept low. And as soon as you have a very high senior card, you're carrying a lot of unnecessary overhead.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out what that balance is. And sometimes what you have to restrict the number of senior people in an organization. As the organization grows and expands, yes, there's growth and expansion for everybody that can come. But each one of us must first figure out how do we measure that we are being successful. Is there something that we look at and think, am I being fulfilled in what I do? Am I being remunerated for what I do? Or am I being exploited for what I do? Am I being treated unfairly? So those are circumstances that each person has to look at and figure out for themselves. But from an organization's point of view, if they find somebody who's very happy earning a salary and not budging and doing the same damn thing, they'll probably be like, oh, okay, hit up a thing, let's let the bugger be. And we'll look at the buggers who are more progressive and more ambitious.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
That's another thing. Moving away from that topic for a moment, shouldn't competent, efficient leaders like you be in the
Thank you for that.
government service?
No. No, I don't know. Thank you for the compliment, first and foremost. But I think it's a very individual thing, Asanka. I don't know whether everybody is cut out to be in government.
Okay.
Personally, I feel that I've always read this, saying that they say power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think it's very true if you look at the political situation in Sri Lanka. So I don't want to become one of those corrupt politicians by going into mainstream politics.
Yeah.
I'm a fallible human being. I have no idea where I'll end up given that kind of authority. So let's not even try that route, right, to start with. But also, in terms of what I want to, towards society, what I want to do, I have been able to do it more effectively being outside parliament or politics or any of that stuff.
Yeah, for example, the trail. Right?
Yeah, for example, trail or even around the pearl that we ride a bicycle around Sri Lanka. So trail is a classic example where we got pretty much the whole country together and united parties, politicians from all sides came, different nationalities, religious leaders, whoever, it didn't matter. So as soon as you go into politics, you have to you become partial. You are one side or the other. You're black or white. I'm not ready to be that.
Okay.
I think I enjoy doing stuff that makes me excited to accomplish, and I can do that.
Do we have a problem of a lot of these educated, intelligent, efficient people leaving the country for better jobs or, as they say, greener pastures, and they don't return because they see no reason to return to Sri Lanka? I mean, what can we offer?
So I think I beg to differ there, right? Because I think now you're seeing a lot more of the younger generation, especially after they've been educated, after they've gone overseas, or even educated in Sri Lanka. There are great educational institutions here. Some of the local universities are among the best in Asia, if not some of the best in the world. So if you look at a lot of these guys, now you're seeing them coming and starting small businesses, starting apps, starting a very vibrant kind of startup industry has started,
Yes.
Startup ecosystem has started. I don't even know the word to use for it. So old-fashioned. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in Sri Lanka because one, with technology, global barriers have come down, right? So you can be in Sri Lanka and service markets anywhere in the world, and Sri Lanka is a great place to live in still. I mean, if you have a little bit of money in your pocket, you're
sorted.
You're sorted. I mean, to a great extent, it's a very comfortable, very nice environment to be in. So I think that is changing. Now, when we were growing up, when I had to make the decision of coming back, having gone to university.
When was this?
1988. You weren't even thought of. You weren't even thought of. So, maybe thought of, but not quite got down to being produced. I hope I don't get hammered with
No. So during that period,
yeah.
Why did you come back? What was
I had always wanted to live in Sri Lanka. That had been something that I had always wanted to do. And I got very close to not coming back because it was 1988 and the country was literally on fire. Right? The JVP was burning it from one side, the LTT was bobbing it from the other side, and we in the middle were just like running around, trying not to become barbecue, in the middle. So there was really no hope at that time. But I looked at it from a point of view of massive opportunity. Nobody came back at that time. So when we come back, you know what they say, land of the blind, one-eyed man is king.
Yeah.
One-eyed man. I came back and I was really fortunate to have got a very good job as I came back. Because there was no other people. Very good bosses. I was very fortunate to have some really good leaders to work under. And came into a economy that was in shambles. And from that point onwards, things got better.
And here we are.
Here we are. So I think there are people coming back now, and what I'm really, really encouraged to see is some of the younger generations coming back, and they're coming back socially aware, socially conscious, and socially active. They are getting out on the road. When we had that whole fiasco of multiple governments and multiple prime ministers a few months ago, the youngsters were on the road. My sons were on the road, with placards and standing, and the grandfather was in parliament. But, on the wrong side of the fence.
Yeah.
But you might want to censor that. But what I'm saying is that they're far more active and far more socially conscious than we were. Yeah. So I have a lot of hope for the future of this country.
But they are also dealing with a lot of opposition from the seniority.
That will crumble soon. We are getting old. We won't have energy to fight them. They will come through.
So hope that if you are one of them, that you'll push through and
absolutely,
grab a hold of
this
opportunity.
Just
persevere.
And get all the obstacles that are in your way. Just get them out of there.
You can say whatever you want. Sarinda is also practicing a few karate moves because we are trying to battle a little bit of a fly situation. As you know, this is shot in our residence. All the windows are open because we're using some available lighting as well. Thank you for putting up with this. Let's also talk about a very important point for you and for me. Women at the workplace.
Yeah.
Not if women are holding positions of power and authority, especially in Sri Lanka. Why is that? What do we do to change it?
Well, I think that's changing. And the weird thing is, if you look at the first president, the first prime minister, some of the most senior doctors, some of the most senior lawyers, in all these professions, bankers, you get very, very senior business people who have been women. But they are few and far between. Right? If you look at Sri Lanka, we have the first prime minister, first president, the first, everything. They're bloody useless, but they had nothing to do with being female. They were just useless.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the doctors, we look at some of the senior doctors, some of the senior lawyers, some of the senior business women. They are brilliant at what they do. So I think there are a couple of things going on here. Right? First, organizations need to be more. They need to provide more opportunities for women to balance their lives better. Mm-hmm. And why I say just women, and it shouldn't just be for women only. For example, if you're looking at things like flexible work times, that shouldn't be just for women only, because then that implies that the woman's responsibility is more weighted towards doing stuff at home.
Correct, yeah.
Right? But I think now we have to start sharing those responsibilities.
Yeah. My wife is also listening to this interview.
Yeah, I know she's looking at me right now, so I'm scared that she might throw something at me. But I'm going to say nice things.
Encourage, but...
Okay. So, most workplaces are making the environment more conducive for a better life balance.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to call it work-life balance, whatever, but a life balance.
Be it male or female.
Male or female.
That's what we should do.
Absolutely. First and foremost, that's it. Then there is conscious and unconscious bias.
Okay.
Conscious bias is where you consciously say that she's a woman, she's not good enough for the job, let's put her aside, she's going to get pregnant, take maternity leave, she's going to bugger off somewhere, get married, whatever.
Yeah.
So that
Or
is conscious bias.
Sleep with the boss.
Or sleep with the boss,
Yeah.
That they might get promoted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
The unconscious bias.
Unconscious bias is another, is a tricky one, right? That is when like you have male gender roles and female gender roles.
Yeah.
Like if a letter has to be typed or something, immediately we say,
Yeah.
Kanti, you do this,
Yeah. Or meetings.
Jane, you do this or
Yeah.
something.
Meetings at a minute. Yeah.
That is
meetings at a meeting.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no reason why the lady in the room should be taking minutes.
Yeah.
What's
But it
that all
happens.
about? It does. So that is unconscious bias.
Yeah.
That is because we, especially our generation, maybe you all are changing, we hope, but our generation is very male-female clear roles. Mothers stayed at home and worked, mothers stayed at home and looked after the kids, fathers went to work.
Yeah.
So we can change all those things, and there's a lot of coaching that goes on in workplaces right now. There's a lot of education that goes on in workplaces right now. But if the one thing that nobody wants to address is the biggest thing that stands in the way of a woman progressing in their career is either her husband or her family. Because if you look at, and I'm absolutely clear in my convinced that is one of the major reasons, right? Because if you look at the successful women that I've worked with, the one common factor that they have had, and you look at the successful women in parliament or whatever it may be, they've either not had husbands or they have killed their husbands or I don't know what.
Successful women in parliament.
No, there are a few.
Maybe a few, very few.
Yeah.
Please,
but
don't get upset. I'm just.
Yeah, I think we are just focusing on one or two and
and
trying to laugh about it. But anyway, if you look at the successful women in organizations, in professions, whatever it may be, you will find that there is a very supportive family structure, a very supportive husband or partner or whatever it may be behind that person, supporting that person's career.
Yeah.
So in many cases, in South Asia especially, and I keep referring to South Asia because we fall in this big bucket that has various social norms of the mother being the dominant person at home. So some of these really career-oriented, intelligent, capable, for progressive women have to go home and play the role of mother and wife immediately.
Yeah.
They have to make sure dinner is on the table, they have to make sure the children are fed, the homework is done, the bed is made, this is done, that is done, sleep with husband, do this, everything and keep that buggers happy and go. But what about the other way around? What if it's a supportive environment? What if the wife has to travel and the husband takes time off to look after the kids and do all that stuff? Or when they go home, they share the responsibilities at home. Everybody helps with the cooking. My cooking is atrocious, but I do make an attempt.
You're telling me.
I do make an attempt.
I don't know where the fridge is.
Thank God for. It's like, what if you again today? I sort it out. But I think it's really, really important that home environment becomes supportive to make any woman, to help any woman succeed in a career. Because if there's too much pressure from the home environment to be the ideal storybook mother or the ideal storybook wife,
or the daughter.
Or the daughter for that matter. Yes, daughter for that matter. Because a lot of parents expect their daughter especially to come and look after them in their old age or when they're sick or whatever it may be.
And even when you have an assignment, if you're a girl, if you're a daughter, there's always a curfew. Until you get married. And the usual reasoning is, no, after you get married, you sort it out. Then we are not responsible for you. Then the husband can be with you. So now I know that your boss wants you to stay back and do this, or there's an event, but come home by 11. The party starts at 11. This is Sri Lanka. What do you want us to do, So it's really wrong, I suppose.
Well, we hope that, your generation as they grow up will grow older and have children and adult children will change all that. Because mine is, I'd like to think that a lot of my friends and a lot of my generation are more progressive, but sadly a lot are not. We're having a lot of people who are still living by these very old-fashioned traditional values. And till that changes, any organization can turn blue in the face trying to change the work environment to suit women, but they will come to a particular level in the organization and they will leave because the pressure is too much.
Absolutely.
So that's something that has to be addressed on multiple fronts.
So let's hope for change.
Let's hope for change. Absolutely, I'm a very optimistic person. I believe that this is going in the right direction.
So, folks, we've had an explosive chat with Sarinda with the longest 5 minutes. It's only the second episode, and we are really lucky to have you. Thank you for taking a few hours of your daily routine at work to drop by into the outskirts of Unamboowe.
GPS. With GPS. No, are you mad? I live in Apuragoda.
This is prime property then.
This is prime. This is like Kalamaseva.
Thanks,
I have buffaloes in my neighborhood.
Thanks for dropping
My
by.
pleasure.
Very interesting chat. I hope everyone who's watched the longest 5 minutes would leave a comment of what they think about the points that we discussed today. And if there's anything, just comment. I will relay the message to Sarinda. Hopefully we will get a response from him. Last question. You are your own boss. Did you apply for a short leave to get here, or how does it work? You were here by 2:30.
This happened on a Sunday.
Thank you very
Today is Sunday.
So that's it. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you very much, Sarinda.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure. Done.
Cut.
Thanks. Thanks.